And the ancient city that was so advanced it couldn't have existed, but it did. Imagine a city with running water, heated floors, and a sewer system so sophisticated that most medieval European cities wouldn't match it for another 4,000 years. Now imagine that city existed in 2600 BCE, older than the Great Pyramid of Giza, older than Stonehenge, older than almost every monument you've ever been taught to admire. This city was real. It thrived. And then it was erased from history so completely that for nearly 5,000 years, no one even knew it was there. Welcome back to Historical Secrets. What I'm about to tell you will fundamentally challenge everything you were taught about the ancient world. Because the city I'm talking about wasn't built by the Egyptians. It wasn't built by the Greeks or the Romans. It was built by a civilization so mysterious that to this day, we cannot fully read their language. We do not know what they called themselves, and we have no idea why they vanished. This is the story of Mohenjo-daro, and the truth was buried for a reason. For centuries, this was hidden from the world. Beneath the dry, cracked earth of modern-day Pakistan's Sindh province, an entire metropolis lay silent. Farmers walked over it for generations. Empires rose and fell above it. And no one suspected that just beneath their feet rested one of the most advanced urban centers the ancient world had ever produced. It wasn't until 1922 that an Indian archaeologist named R.D. Banerjee stumbled upon something impossible. Ancient bricks, precisely cut, emerging from a Buddhist-era mound. What he uncovered wasn't a temple. It wasn't a tomb. It was an entire city, perfectly planned, stretching across more than 600 acres. And that's when the questions began. Questions that historians still cannot fully answer. You see, Mohenjo-daro was not like other ancient cities. Other civilizations of that era built grand palaces for their kings and towering temples for their gods. Mohenjo-daro had neither. No palace has ever been found. No throne room. No monument to any ruler. There is no evidence of a king, a pharaoh, or any singular leader at all. What historians don't tell you is that this challenges one of the most fundamental assumptions of early civilization, that complex societies required authoritarian rule. Mohenjo-daro appears to have operated without it, and yet it functioned with a level of urban planning that wouldn't be seen again for millennia. The city was laid out on a precise grid system. Streets ran in perfect north-south and east-west lines, intersecting at right angles. The main boulevards were 30 feet wide, broad enough for cart traffic in both directions. Every single home had access to clean water through private wells. Nearly every home had its own bathing area and its own toilet. Waste was channeled through covered brick drains that ran beneath the streets, connecting to a citywide sewage system. Let me say that again. In 2600 BCE, while most of humanity lived in mud huts and scattered villages, the residents of Mohenjo-daro had indoor plumbing and civic sanitation. This changes everything we thought we knew about the progression of human civilization. But the mysteries run deeper than engineering. At the heart of the city sat a massive structure known as the Great Bath. It measured 39 feet long, 23 feet wide, and nearly 8 feet deep. It was made completely watertight using precisely fitted bricks sealed with natural bitumen. No one knows its true purpose. Some scholars believe it was used for ritual purification, a sacred space for some unknown spiritual practice. Others argue it served a civic function, a gathering place for a society that valued equality and communal identity over individual power. The truth is, we don't know. Because the Indus script, the writing system used by this civilization, remains undeciphered to this day. Over 400 distinct symbols have been identified on thousands of seals, tablets, and pottery fragments, and not a single one can be reliably read. We are staring at the words of a lost civilization, and we are illiterate. Now here's where the story takes its darkest turn. Mohenjo-daro did not fall to conquest, at least not in any way we can prove. It did not burn in a great fire. There is no record of plague, no evidence of civil war. And yet, around 1900 BCE, the city began to die. The carefully maintained drainage systems fell into disrepair. New construction became sloppy, built over the bones of older, finer buildings. The population shrank. And then, silence. The city was abandoned and slowly consumed by the earth. For decades, researchers have debated what killed Mohenjo-daro. Some pointed to catastrophic flooding from the Indus River, which may have shifted its course and destroyed the agricultural systems that sustained the city. Others suggested tectonic activity disrupted the water table, poisoning wells and turning fertile land to dust. A more controversial theory emerged in the mid-20th century when researchers noted that certain skeletons found in the streets appeared to have died suddenly, some lying in positions that suggested they had fallen where they stood. One early and now widely discredited hypothesis even suggested an ancient nuclear-like explosion, pointing to vitrified bricks and unusually high radiation levels in certain areas. Mainstream archaeology has firmly rejected this, but the image persists in popular imagination for a reason, because the real explanation isn't much less disturbing. The evidence increasingly suggests that Mohenjo-daro was killed by climate change. Around 1900 BCE, monsoon patterns shifted dramatically across South Asia. The rains that fed the Indus and its tributaries became unreliable. Rivers dried, crops failed. A civilization that had mastered water, that had built its entire identity around the control and distribution of water, found itself at the mercy of a force it could not engineer its way out of. The population didn't die in a single catastrophe. It dispersed. Slowly, painfully. Over generations, the people of Mohenjo-daro walked away from their masterpiece and scattered into the subcontinent, carrying fragments of their culture into new settlements that would eventually become part of the Vedic world. And here's what makes this story so haunting in our modern age. Mohenjo-daro was not destroyed by war. It was not toppled by revolution. It was undone by environmental collapse. A society that had achieved something remarkable, urban planning, public health infrastructure, apparent social equality, all without monumental ego or military dominance, was brought to its knees by a changing climate it could not control. If that doesn't echo into the present day, nothing does. Today, Mohenjo-daro faces a new threat. The ruins are crumbling. Salt from the groundwater is eating through the ancient bricks. Flooding continues to damage the site. UNESCO has listed it as a World Heritage Site in danger, and preservation efforts are underfunded and struggling. We are at risk of losing this place twice. Once to the ancient climate that drove its people away, and once to our own neglect. A civilization that built a city of extraordinary precision, that organized tens of thousands of people without kings or armies, that gave every citizen access to clean water and sanitation 5,000 years ago. That civilization deserves to be remembered. And the fact that most people have never heard of it tells you something about which histories get told and which get buried. The next time someone tells you that advanced civilization began with Egypt or Greece or Rome, remember Mohenjo-daro. Remember what was hiding beneath the dust. Remember that the greatest city of the ancient world left behind no statues of its leaders, no monuments to conquest, no names of kings, only the quiet, undeniable proof that another way of building a society was possible. And then ask yourself why that story was never the one they taught you. Now, if this mystery left you questioning what else history has been hiding, you're not alone. Because in our next video, we're going to uncover a lost library that may have contained the most dangerous knowledge of the ancient world, knowledge that someone made sure would never be read again. You don't want to miss that one. Hit subscribe, ring the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next secret.